So you want to be a Christian filmmaker? Well, today we're going to talk about two things that I think every filmmaker should be thinking about early in their career to set themselves up for success. Let's get right into it. There are lots of things I wish I'd done that would have made a difference in my filmmaking career. But there are two specifically which prove invaluable no matter which direction you're going in the filmmaking world. Number one, storytelling. The old adage is true. Story is king. And that goes from your ability to control pacing, know which lenses to use, which angles, how to do good sound design. All of that matters. However, the most obvious element of storytelling is actually the most important. And that is, can you tell a good story, an arc from beginning to end? Number two, maybe not quite as obvious, audience. If you have an audience, you have an incredible amount of leverage. Your ability to get eyeballs on your art is the most powerful thing you can leverage when it comes to people paying you for your art. It's what makes the difference between an A-list actor and a B-list actor. It's why some directors get paid more and some get paid less. You get the right name attached to the right project, and it's almost guaranteed to make money. This isn't some Hollywood scheme, it's how life works. In the independent filmmaking world, we can tend to poo-poo this idea, but it's more than just a name. It's economics. The truth is, if you have a loyal fan base where you make a piece of art and no matter what it is, people will buy it. If you can demonstrate that no matter what you make, a certain amount of eyeballs will be on that project, people will pay for that. That is immensely valuable in the business end of the art and filmmaking world. Storytelling. The reality is that if you have a boring story, nobody's going to stick around to watch it. Your ability to tell a good story will make or break any piece of art that you create, any project that you're paid for, and it will make or break your career. Your ability to tell a compelling story that keeps people watching, hooks people, gets people to want to watch till the end to find out what happens. That is powerful stuff, and we all know it. So if you're a filmmaker, no matter where you are in your career, two assets that you need to be developing: your ability to tell compelling stories and developing an audience for yourself and your brand. Now, Dallas, that's a little easy to say. That's what we're all trying to do, isn't it? So how would you recommend I go about doing that? Well, I'm sure glad you asked. I do have some ideas about that. Here are two things that I wish I had done 10 years ago when I was just beginning my filmmaking career, and that I plan to start implementing even today. Better late than never, right? A little while ago, I was online and I ran across a funny Quora question. Or not really a funny question, but a funny answer. The question really wasn't that unique in itself. It was one that people ask all the time. I've got an amazing idea for a movie. How do I get Hollywood to make it? And this was the answer. Step 1, write a best-selling young adult dystopian novel. Step 2, Hollywood phones you up and says, we want to turn your novel into a movie. Step 3. And you reply, that's great, I just happen to already have the script written.
Nice.
And the reason that's amusing is because it actually would be easier to go that route than to directly get your script made into a movie. I spent the last 10 plus years making movies, with each movie on average taking 3 years to make. How many novels could I have written in 10 years? A little while ago, I came across a novelist named Derek Murphy, and he talks about how to write best-selling novels. Interesting. And the strategy he recommends to authors is write a lot of books. Experience and testing and listening to audience feedback is powerful stuff. What I would have done instead of making movies is write novels, and write a lot of them. At least one a year, maybe 2, maybe 3. This would have done a number of things. The most obvious being that it would have developed my ability to write and tell compelling stories. In 10 years, I could have written 10 to 30 novels, if not more. In that time, I would have got a lot of feedback on what works. I would have got a lot of experience on what doesn't work. And I would be a much better storyteller today. So it would have developed my story skills. The second thing it would have done is it would have built an audience. Think about it. How do people buy books? Once you find an author you like, you look for their other books, and it would have done something else as well. At one point, the Christian filmmaker John Irwin said that he would not make a movie unless there was a built-in audience. and that's reflected in the movies he's made. October Baby had the pro-life movement baked in as an audience. Mom's Night Out, anybody who's got a mom. I Can Only Imagine, anyone who loved a best-selling song. That's a big audience. If you look at the top 10 movies of any given year, you'll notice that on average, 9 out of 10 are remakes or are based on a best-selling novel. So the third thing this would do is generate the stories that could be turned into feature films that have a built-in audience and fan base. Think about it. The second thing I would have done to cultivate an audience and develop the skill of storytelling is I would have started creating short-form content for this raggedy platform that had just come out called YouTube. For a number of years, I was involved in putting together a small conference for Christian filmmakers, and we were constantly looking for a speaker who could talk to new media, which meant online content like YouTube. But even when we found somebody who had had marginal success on YouTube, they often didn't know why, and so they really couldn't speak to it. So from its inception, YouTube has been a bit of a mystery to filmmakers. So one of the reasons that more filmmakers didn't jump onto platforms like this, I believe, is because we didn't understand it. We didn't know what was going on or how it worked, and honestly, at its inception, it was pretty rough. However, you'll notice that in this last year, I've started intentionally working on this YouTube channel. Why? Because YouTube develops an audience, and it allows the filmmaker to practice telling stories while engaging an audience at a high rate of practice with a high rate of feedback. All right, I've talked long enough. Those are two things that I would have done 10 years ago. They may have not kickstarted my career, but 10 years into my career, I would have been far more accomplished, far more set up for success than I am today. For those who don't know, over the past 10 years, me and my dad have been making Christian films. We've actually had the privilege of making 3 Christian films, all of which have been nominated for awards. And while the experience in each of those films has honed our abilities and our skills, I think if we had taken a different path, we might be further ahead today. If you're interested in watching some of my movies and supporting this channel, I'm going to include a discount code coupon for the digital editions in the description below, so feel free to use that. Thought I'd just offer that to you. Until next time.